Unfortunately, sometimes when things in our life are not going very well, we have a tendency to make them go even worse. And when we do that, well, we just compound our problems even all the more. It's a little bit, like the old song we used to sing on ER about gloom, despair, and agony on me. And we just make it worse and worse and worse. In James chapter 5, there's been a discussion going on since the beginning of the chapter about people who were defrauded and cheated out of wages because of rich, greedy landowners. And then they're told, because of that, to be patient and to remember how patient the prophets were, and to remember specifically how patient Job was. And then in verse 12, it almost seems like that the discussion takes a turn completely away from that, but it really doesn't. James 5 verse 12 says, "But above all, my brethren, do not swear either by heaven or by earth with any other oath, but let your yes be yes and your no, no, lest you fall into judgment," or condemnation. And I think the way that this all fits together contextually is these people had been cheated. These people had something unfair happen to them, and they were losing their patience. They were losing their ability to really effectively cope with it. And so they're reminded rather strongly, be patient, several times in this context. Be patient, be patient. And unfortunately, sometimes when we get in that situation, well, we begin to implode. We begin to self-destruct. And maybe, like it says here, we begin to swear. We begin to say things we don't mean. We begin to even call heaven and earth, if only God would do something about this, or I swear if this happens and again, or by the name of God, if something like this doesn't quit. And we begin to use God's name in vain. We begin to swear, and we begin to say things that we don't mean. And so James says, but above all, even when we're in those circumstances, don't do that. Let your yes be yes, your no be no, lest we be judged with condemnation. In other words, even when we're faced with these sometimes almost impossible difficulties, to the best of our ability, we let our life continue as calmly as possible. And God will help us, and God will bless us.